Today we're going to be talking about an incredibly high-powered everyday carry light. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. Today we're talking about everyday carry flashlights. Now, if carrying a flashlight every day is a concept that is new to you, this probably is not going to be the video for you. If that is the case and you're not really into EDC, I would suggest getting a head start on it. Throw a pocket knife in your pocket for a week if that's not something that you typically carry, and just see how much you actually use it. I guarantee after about a week or two of carrying a pocket knife every day, that is going to be something that you don't want to leave the house without, because it is just so functional and you would be very surprised how much you can actually use a knife every single day. Now, a flashlight in your pocket is kind of along those same lines. You can really only do so much with a little cell phone light like this right here. It'll get you by in a pinch, but if you want more functionality and something that is going to be super useful in your everyday life, I would suggest trying out a pocket light as well. Now, this light is very large on the spectrum for what I would consider an EDC light. However, given everything that I do, I'm constantly outdoors. I actually have been carrying this light for the past 2 months or so, and I'm really digging it. Now, the flashlight in question is coming from Adaball Illumination, and if you go over to their website, you can actually sort of build out your ideal light. So for a little bit of background on these things, essentially they were really designed as a weapon light. So right here is the configuration that I have been carrying this light in for a little while, but I'm going to throw on a different head because you can choose different heads. You can choose different bodies, different tail caps. You can also get some aftermarket clip options. So there's a lot of different ways that you can sort of custom build your own flashlight, and this setup right here has been working almost perfectly for me. But let's take it back to the roots. So I'm gonna unscrew the head that I have been using and throw on the Adaball Illumination AI1. Now, with this current setup right here, the light is a lot larger. We have the AI1 head on here with the AI18650 body, the AI tail cap, and right now this is coming in at a little bit over 6 inches, about 6 1/4. This is definitely more along the lines of a dedicated weapon light because of this head on here. This thing is insane. It's about as close to a lightsaber as you can get right now. So this AI1 head has an output of about 335 lumens, but this is really for throwing light about as far as you possibly can, so it has 200,000 Candela. These type of light heads are sort of regulated in a way because of the LED sort of laser technology that they have in here, so if you ever end up buying one of these, I believe you have to sign a waiver, but we're not going to get too into depth on that. With this head and this body and this exact setup right here, it can throw light up to 2,900 feet. Just check out this beam pattern right here on the wall behind me. It's really just like a straight up dot. There's virtually no flood to this light, and this thing is really not going to be great for an EDC light, but I just wanted to show some of the capabilities. If you're interested in a light like this for a weapon light, they do actually have other bodies that will mount up to different weapon platforms. And with this head, my buddy Roger over at QVO Tactical was basically using this as a replacement for night vision. When he wanted to shoot really long distance, he was actually landing shots with no night vision, just a light like this with this head on here, shooting out to 800 yards. And that to me is just insane. So if you're interested in some weapon light technology, you can check out Roger's video. If I can find a link for it, I'll leave that down in the description below. So with the AI handheld body and their tail cap and the AI1 light on here, at night when you hold this thing out, it literally looks like a lightsaber. It's insane. It's just a constant straight beam pattern. Super, super bright. It is only advertised at 335 lumens, but all of those lumens are concentrated because of the beam pattern. It just throws light insanely far. So that's definitely some cool technology in the AI1 head, but we're talking about EDC lights, the light that I've been carrying in my pocket. So let's switch over to the AI2 head. And now this is the exact configuration that I've been carrying this pocket light in. So now with the AI2 head, the AI handheld body, and the AI tail cap, this thing is coming in with a length of about 5 3/4 inches. Definitely very big for a flashlight to carry around in your pocket, but my use case is, of course, I'm outside at night camping quite a lot, so I don't mind carrying around a bigger flashlight from time to time. Now, everything from the light head all the way down to the tail cap is precision machined aluminum alloy with a hard coat anodized coating. I of course have black on my light because all black everything. Both of these heads are compatible with this body and a few other bodies out there on the market. Of course, I have the 18650 body, so a little bit larger of a battery. It gives you a longer runtime. We're looking at about 3 hours of runtime on these rechargeable out-of-ball illumination batteries, which I have right here. You simply plug these things in when they're ready to charge and you will see a red LED indicator there. Once it's fully charged, it will turn blue and then you're ready to rock at full power. If you already have a lot of light bodies and you want to just pick up a head, you can also do that as well. Both of these heads are compatible with most 18650 or even the 18350 bodies that are out there. Something like the Surefire M600DFs as well as the Reptilia 18650 bodies. So if you're into flashlights, you guys already know about all of that stuff. So if you want to just pick up a head and try that out, then there are options available for you. Now the AI bodies, like this handheld one right here, are O-ring sealed on both ends. That way when you are switching out components, you know you have a nice weather-tight seal on there. There's some nice knurling all around the outside of here, and there are also flats which could basically be used as a wrench flat. So if you are using a light like this with, say, the AI2 Head, sometimes you can get carbon buildup if you have this thing positioned close to a muzzle. So I've never had that issue where I couldn't unscrew a light head, but if that happens to you, you can just throw like a standard wrench on there and pop these things off. Now before we get into the actual performance of my preferred setup with this AI2 head, let's talk about the body real quick. So the body, like I mentioned, 18650 battery in there. You can also opt for an 18350 if you want just a smaller light overall. You would have to be pretty consistent with charging that battery if you're using a light as much as I do, because a head like this will drain a small little 18350 battery a lot quicker than an 18650. Now the AI light body also came with this little clip here, which you just sort of pop on to the light like that. Not a big fan of a setup like this because the light will hang out of your pocket quite a lot. So when it comes to aftermarket accessories for building out a light like this, right here I have a little pocket clip coming from Theorem. They also have one with like a little signet ring, so if you're using this thing as a handheld weapon light, you can throw a piece like this on there with a little ring. It also comes with a pocket clip. And then that coupled with this pretty rad tail cap coming from Out-of-Ball Illumination. This thing is super clicky, very positive. There's no bezel around the outside, so it's very easy to activate with just one hand. Especially if you're doing something like gripping a pistol, it's very easy to activate just by sort of squeezing down on it. Now here's a close-up look at the tail cap so you can see the knurling on there as well as how far out that button sticks. If you run a bezel on the outside there, it does become kind of hard to press, especially in some high-stress situations. You're not going to be able to tail stand a light like this, which I typically like in an EDC light, but again, we're talking about a very specific application for a light like this. You can lightly press it for a momentary and then fully click it. Nice and positive click on there for constant on. It's really just on and off. There's no frills to this light, and I dig that, keeping it simple. So with this exact setup, how I've been carrying it, let's talk a little bit more about that AI2 head. For the specs on this guy, it's coming in with about 700 lumens and 90,000 Candela. So this light head still throws light quite a lot, but it also floods out a little bit, so you can use it as more of an everyday carry light. Typically, I don't really like hot spots on an everyday carry light because for the most part, you're looking in the back of your truck, looking under a workbench or something. But at the same time, like I mentioned, I'm outdoors quite a lot at night. I'm camping in places that a lot of times I'm not really familiar with. So this light right here sort of blends what I would consider a traditional everyday carry light, sort of with a weapon light, so it throws light super far but also floods out a little bit to allow you to see a little bit more of your surroundings. Here's a quick look at that light pattern behind me here. As you can see, still has a pretty decent hotspot, but also floods out a little bit. Now, having a light head like this did take a little bit of getting used to, especially if you're doing things close up. Say you want to look at a map in front of you, you really don't want to shine this thing directly onto a map or something right in front of your eyes because that hotspot is so concentrated, it'll kind of blind you. So if you're doing things close up with the AI2 light head, I would typically position the center of the beam a little bit above what I want to see, and then the rest of the flood just kind of fills that out pretty nicely. Now for my use case, when you're out camping at night, there's a lot of wildlife around you in certain areas, so you can see things like moose just sort of walk right through your campsite. You'd be surprised the things you can see with a really high quality flashlight like this, especially when it throws a pretty good distance. When you're shining around your campsite at night, you can see insanely far with this thing. We're not talking the same as the AI2 Head, talking 2,900 feet. But if you hear something rustling out there, it's nice to know that I can see like a couple 100 yards all around me when I'm out there alone. Now I've got a few random lights right here for a little bit of a size comparison, but overall this thing just blows the rest of these out of the water as far as like output goes. Again, this light is not going to be for everyone. A lot of people will opt for a light like this that I used to carry, the Streamlight Micro Stream. Great little pocket light, but when you're outside at night camping, this little beam really doesn't do all that much if you're trying to look around your campsite and check out your surroundings. So here's a side-by-side of the Adaball Illumination body, tail cap, and the AI2 Head next to the Streamlight Micro Stream. Something a little more comparable would be the ProTac, which just runs off of a single AA battery. I used to think that this light was a little bit big, but this one just completely dwarfs it now. Olights are something that I used to carry quite often too. Right here is the S1R Baton 2. This thing is tiny, has some good output, doesn't really have a hotspot though for seeing further distances. And then right here we have the larger counterpart, the S2R Baton 2. Getting a little bit bigger, a little bit more like hand friendly. But again, if I want to see a little bit further at night, I'm not going to opt for a light like this. Now getting a lot closer to the size right here, we have the Olight M2T Warrior. I believe I did a video on this one like a long time ago. Definitely a big pocket light for most people, but we're really talking about a specific use case here when it comes to the Adaball Illumination light. And then for some surefire comparisons here, I carried this one for a little while, the Stiletto Pro. Kind of a unique flashlight shape, kind of sits flat in your pocket. And then the light that I carried, probably the least frequent, but is also most comparable in size. Right here we have a Surefire Scout. So that's a quick size comparison so you guys can get an idea of how big this flashlight actually is. Feels great in the hand. In most cases, I would opt for a full-size pocket knife, just like I would opt for a full-size flashlight. But when it comes to pocket space, this thing does take up quite a bit of room if you compare it next to something like the Streamlight Micro Stream. So again, this is not going to be for everyone, but maybe you just want a flashlight to kind of keep in your rig at night if you're out camping a lot. This would definitely be a great option for that. Now it is still light out here, so let's head down to the basement so you guys can see how this thing would perform in sort of like an indoor situation. All right, we're gonna start this off with the AI2 Head, the super thrower. My basement is not 2,900 feet long. We're looking at about maybe 75 to 100 feet long, but we're gonna shine over here to the darkest part of the basement. Zoom in a little bit. As you can see, big hot spot there, really doesn't flood out all that much. I mean, I'm shining into like the darkest corner of the basement and it's lighting up the whole thing because it's kind of reflecting off the walls, but super concentrated beam there, and you can only imagine what this looks like outside at night. Now let's take a stroll over here and see what umbrella lighting looks like. You can tell all the walls in here are white. Throw that up against the ceiling and this entire room is pretty much lit up. Again, not ideal for indoors with a head like this, but I'm going to show you my preferred head, the AI2, and it's still going to do a pretty damn good job. Now back here again, 75, 100-ish feet with my preferred head, AI2. Let's shine over there again. Might be hard to tell on video, it's not quite as concentrated as before. Let's zoom in a little bit there. Definitely practical indoors. Until you get up to something kind of close, then that hot spot will sort of get a little bit smaller, a little more narrow, definitely more concentrated and brighter. But as you can tell, as an EDC light, if I'm umbrella lighting in here, it's throwing that light around quite a lot more. And again, you don't want to like look at something super close because obviously that hot spot is super intense. So say I want to look at this little knot on this piece of wood here. Haven't finished this part of the basement yet, but when I shine the light directly on it, it's just completely blown out. Sort of looks like that to the eye as well. So you want to move that hot spot a little bit off to the side. Still get plenty of light there, and now you can actually see the detail. So that's kind of the learning curve that I was talking about when it comes to having a crazy light head like this, but I dig it. It's been working for me really well, especially outdoors, and it's a really cool option for those of you who are into flashlights. And now for a quick outside test with the AI1 Super Thrower. We've got some street lights way off in the distance there, kind of hard to see. But there's a street sign which will illuminate, and that's sitting at about 359 yards. There's trees beyond that which go out to roughly 600 yards. So let's just start in here close so you can see the whole lightsaber action. It looks so crazy. So as you can tell, hot spot, super hot up close. And then as we come out to the tree line here, not super far away, also kind of hard to tell on camera. Let me zoom in, it's about as far as I can zoom. But there you get an idea of what this light looks like. Now as we pan down the tree line here, we're getting further and further away. And eventually, there's a street sign over here somewhere. There it is, you can see it glowing. So that's at about 350 yards, and hard to tell on camera, but there's a tree right behind there, and that is at about 600 yards. Actually, you can see it clear as day. There's a big bushel of trees down there. So that just goes to show what this light head can do. And now for the AI2 and the configuration that I've been carrying this light in, you can already tell floods a lot more, but still throws pretty damn far. Here we are on that same tree line. As we work our way out, it's obviously expanding out a little bit. You can still clearly illuminate that street sign there. Video's not picking it up great, but that thing is like flashing because it's reflective. And then the tree out at 600 yards, it's not quite as lit up as with the AI2 Head, but you can still see it pretty clearly. I would say this is definitely effective within like 350 yards. I mean, I can see wherever I put this beam, so that's what it looks like at night. So there you guys have it, pretty impressive light if you would consider this a pocket light. I kind of do now because I throw it in my pocket quite often when I'm leaving the house. Definitely overkill for most people, but if you are like me and you spend a lot of times outdoors at night, camping, hiking, whatever you're doing, this might be a good option for you. As far as prices go, you can head over to Adaball Illumination and sort of like spec out your own light. So maybe you want the weapon mounted version. Maybe you want the AI2 Head versus the AI2 Head. Maybe you already have a light body and you just want to test out one of these heads. You can go over there and pick things out piece by piece or put together your own flashlight just like this right here. And I also have a discount code if you use code TALENTSCI at checkout. I believe that will save you 10% on an order. Now, even if I switch back to what I would consider like a more traditional pocket style light, this is definitely something that I'm going to keep in my truck. There's a lot of great applications for a light that performs like this, and I'm pretty stoked on it, so there's a good chance that you guys will see this thing in some future camping videos. And for now, if you guys have any questions on the Adaball Illumination product line, let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to answer anything as best as possible. And I believe that's going to be all that I had for today. If you guys are new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every week. As always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.